Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingstone, and it is just about the biggest fight week of the year already because it's our boy Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Who better to break it down ahead of UFC 325 and break down a pretty big UFC 24 than our resident Muay Thai future champion, Alexander Volkanovski's new best friend. He is a he is a videographer extraordinaire, Tommy Hayfield. Tommy, welcome back to the show, mate.
Yes, Dane, these intros just get better and better. You outdo yourself every week. I'm good, man. Thank you for having me back. I got my Volk shirt on this week. It just feels like Christmas has all come at once. This is the biggest week of the year for us, and I'm excited, man. I can't wait.
I actually just got back from Cairns at the airport and they did have a Volk shirt. I should have got it, but I'm still rocking the old Culture Kings. A little bit outdated now, mate, but we're going to be repping it out there together on Sunday. Are you excited, mate?
I can't wait. Man, Sunday can't come quick enough. You and me, a little bit of work, a little bit of fun, sitting in the crowd, watching all the fights. I can't wait. We might even fit in a couple of cheeky beers and just keen to take in the fights with you, man, and witness some history. Witness Volk in person. Never seen him fight in our hometown. It doesn't get any better, bro. I'm absolutely pumped.
Some advice for all the listeners out there: do not try and drink with Tommy Hayfield. So if you do see him at Kudos Bank Arena on Sunday, do not go drink from drink. You will get lost at the train station and make any commitments you made that night. Take it from firsthand from me. Mate, now, before we get into UFC 325, we can't go past, obviously, let's just start. It was a new era on the weekend, the first UFC of the year. It was back, UFC 324, headlined by Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title. Now, mate, straight off the bat, last week, you must be very happy because it's your boy who is now, for the second time, the interim champion after getting a unanimous decision over Paddy Pimblett. Absolutely smashed his face in. That was some shit out of a horror movie. Paddy at the end there almost got finished in the first round. The judges scored it 48-47 and then 49-46, 49-46, which is exactly how I scored it, Tommy. I gave only the third round to Paddy. It looked like he was going to get finished in those opening two, and then he just came back and won the third. I think the fifth was probably the next closest round, but I think it was a clear 4-1 win to Justin Gaethje. Your boy, mate, one of your favourite fighters. What was your feelings? What do you make of the fight? And has that Paddy hype train been derailed, or was Justin Gaethje just too fucking good?
What a war. What a way to kick off 2026. Best sport in the world. What a way to launch on Paramount Plus. Apparently the ratings were through the roof. It was over 5 million or something streams, which is massive. And yeah, man, it was a 5-round war. I thought it was cool to see Paddy Pimblett go through a war like that. We hadn't seen that before. Justin Gaethje, a seasoned veteran in those situations. What a tough man to fight. What an absolute battle. It was the look of Paddy's face after that fight pretty much sums up that fight. It was just an absolute war. I thought Paddy in that second round, when he copped that thumb to the eye that absolutely cut him open, it was missed by the judges. Then he kind of flinched like, oh, what was that? And then he copped probably like a 15 punch just bombardment from Justin Gaethje, and then was saved by the bell at the end of that round. He was out on his feet and wandered over to his corner, and I thought they're going to call this. He's done. Like, he was sitting on the seat and nothing was sinking in coming from his corner. He was in survival mode. He was just trying to pull himself back together, and then I felt like in the last 10 seconds he kind of actually clicked into gear and was listening to his coaches, stood back up. And then to his credit, man, I think you're right. He won that third round. He came out. I had a 4-1, Justin Gaethje, same as what you were saying. But he showed tremendous heart, and it was one of those fights you're just standing up. I couldn't sit down. I was screaming at the TV. It was so entertaining and just good to see two awesome fighters just go toe-to-toe for 5 rounds.
100%, mate. Even though it looks one-sided on the scorecards, it was anything but. It was fight of the night. Paddy's striking's obviously come a very long way. I think I read he was 0-5 for takedown attempts, and I suppose that's probably the most disappointing thing for Paddy. I think if he was going to win this fight, I think a lot of people were thinking submission. I mean, that was my tip. He would grab onto him. His grappling would have plenty of success. You don't want to get into a striking war with Justin Gaethje. I mean, only the very best in the world can stand in there and bang with him. I mean, he got knocked out by Max Holloway in that classic, UFC 300. But other than that, mate, like you don't want to get in there and stand with an absolute warrior like Justin Gaethje. And obviously, he strung it back to back. He beat Fiziev back in March to get this shot. No one really expected Ilia Topuria to go down like he did, and Arman Sarukian sort of getting overlooked for the shot. Geez, yeah, credit to Paddy, man. He said Scousers don't get knocked out, and he was bloody hell right because it looked like he was done for all money, and then just didn't happen. So pretty crazy that he still got it done. Fight of the night, 100%. I think well deserved. My question was sort of, well, do you think I said this to a few people post fight, the UFC, and we spoke about it in the last podcast. We clipped it up on social media, but that hype train, the UFC really building Paddy up. I felt like it was all sort of laid out. He was like a 3-1 favorite heading into the fight. I picked submission. Has the hype train been derailed, or was Gaethje just that damn good that Paddy could hold his head high? But also, after watching this, not only has the hype train potentially been derailed, could either of these guys really beat Ilia Topuria, Arman Sarukian? What are you thinking?
Well, yeah, I think it was a loss for Paddy. He obviously lost the fight and he didn't get the belt. And he said afterwards, I wasn't planning on this. I was planning on leaving with that belt. But I also think, in a strange way, it was a win for Paddy. He would have gained a lot of fans. He showed a lot of heart. It was such an entertaining fight that any fight moving forward from here on in, everyone is going to tune in to watch Paddy Pimblett fight if they weren't already. And Justin Gaethje always delivers. He's never in a boring fight. What you said there with Arman kind of being looked over, and the next question is now, is it Arman versus Gaethje, and who would win that? Or is it Gaethje versus Ilia? And I feel like if Gaethje stands there the way he did then with Paddy Pimblett and strikes with Ilia, there's only one way that's going to end, and Ilia's going to put short work of that, I think, and will Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Ilia's too slick, too crisp. I don't know, but it would be awesome to see. But yeah, man, I think Paddy Pimblett hold his head up high. It was an absolute war. Not many humans can go through that kind of punishment, and that like it's just insane.
100%, mate. Like I said, his face looked like something out of The Hills Have Eyes after that. But at the same time, I think he wouldn't have he wouldn't have lost any admirers, mate. Like in the moment, maybe it was because of my bet. I don't know. I was thinking hype train derailed and fraud check and those types of things. He hadn't been beaten since 2018 back in Cage Warriors. He was undefeated in the UFC. He was coming off two finishes over Michael Chandler and King Green. And this was a fighter night of the performance against an absolute veteran of the sport who'd been there, done it all before. So I probably have changed my mind in the days since. I think Paddy can hold his head high. He's still got plenty more to give. Can he reach that top echelon? Well, he's got time now to go away and figure it all out. He's only 31, mate. So he's got time to come back. Whereas Gaethje, it's sort of like a crowning moment. I don't think he can beat an Arman Sarukian or an Ilia Topuria. I think he's got no puncher's chance, but no real chance if either of those guys live up to potential. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this lightweight division plays out. Paddy gets his shot. I think he will be back in some capacity, but it would be very interesting to see you put him in there with a beast like Ilia on the feet or Arman on the ground. I just don't think he can go to that level. So it will be very interesting. And for Justin, mate, beautiful story for him, man. Obviously a vet, every fighter's favorite fighter. He's been around, so it was awesome to see. But UFC 324, mate, let's just roll through it now because we do want to get stuck into this weekend's card. So the co-main event, Sean O'Malley and Song Yadong, your favorite fighter's name. Tommy, unanimous decision. Sean O'Malley did exactly what he had to do in this one. 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards. I did tip Sean. I was hoping for a bit of a knockout, but O'Malley needed to really bounce back from those two losses to Merab. He came in there, he got the job done, and he's put his name firmly back into that bantamweight title picture. What did you think of O'Malley's performance? Did he do enough to sort of rocket right up into that sort of title contending spot again?
I think he did, and he was obviously coming up a couple of losses, and yeah, O'Malley, I was hoping for a knockout, but Song Yadong, he's a tough fighter. He moves forward. He's very durable, but O'Malley did enough to win, and I don't know, it puts him in that contention. He understands that Merab and Jan probably have that rematch because it was such an entertaining fight, their last fight. But I'd love to see like a Sandhagen versus O'Malley. I think that'd be an awesome fight, pretty technical. But yeah, man, it was a great fight. It was a good co-main event, and yeah, it went the whole 3 rounds and O'Malley got it done.
Yeah, this card did the job done. Of course, it's that Paramount new era. This was supposed to be Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison, of course, in that spot for the title fight. That would have been a GOAT showdown, but hopefully we do get to see that. But yeah, respect to Sean O'Malley. I'd like to see him get back in there. Peter Yan, that's the big fight that potentially get made down the track. I think he won a split decision over him last time, so that'll be one to watch, mate. And then the big boys, and doesn't get much bigger than the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, Waldo Cortez Acosta. Mate, second round, I think Derek, our boy, may have lost out a bit of steam. He sort of got down on his feet, got knocked down, and simply couldn't go back up. Waldo Cortez Acosta is an absolute weapon on the ground. That fucking ground and pound, man, absolutely smashed him. Stoppage, 3 minutes and 14 into the second round. That's now 3 straight knockouts. He had 2 back-to-back in November, so this is his third in 3 months. So pretty big statement. What did you think of his performance, mate?
I thought that fight was a little bit lackluster and it was a bit of a strange one. It was they were both a bit standoffish. They were both very respectful of each other's power. And then it was very strange. Derek Lewis, I don't know if it was a jab or something, but it kind of just touched him. It didn't really look like it had, a whole lot of connection in it. Or maybe, I don't know, if something happened to his knee or a buckled or something, but he hit the ground and then he just covered up and got pounded. And it was ruthless ground and pound. And the ref had seen enough and put an end to it. But yeah, a bit of a strange fight. It was, I don't know. What do you think of it, Dane?
Yeah, look, I think people were hoping for fireworks, but it certainly wasn't that in the end. I mean, I love Derek Lewis. I think he was going to extend his knockout record if he could get another KO, but not the greatest fight in the world, mate. And I want to just roll straight into the back of to round out the main event card. Natalia Silva, another 3-round decision, 29-28 over Rosna Muniz, and the featherweight John Silver, Arnold Allen, 30-27. Two judges had it 29-28. I
Yeah.
like John Silva. It's nice to see him bounce back. Of course, he did get that knocked out by Diego Lopes, who we're about to get stuck into.
Good on him, like, and rode him like a surfboard. That was pretty strange and disrespectful. I don't
Do you
think
like
Alan went much on that. He was like, they had a tweet or a exchange online afterwards, and he's like, "Thanks for the fight," and he's like, "Yeah, thanks, but I'm not a surfboard," because he stood on his back at one stage. It was very strange, and then you could tell at the end they were having a bit of an embrace, and John Silver was really into it and Alan wasn't. He was kind of like, "Okay, cool, man. Like, I just want to get out of here." Like, yeah, but yeah, it was cool. It was a good fight.
would that
Yeah.
fly in the northern beaches, mate, up there in Manly?
I don't know. If you knock someone out and stand on their back and surf them, it'd be pretty funny, but I don't know, a bit disrespectful.
The disrespect, mate.
Yeah, he
Jesus
showed good
Christ.
balance, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
don't have that, mate. Tommy, just the round to round out the card, we did have a fight canned because of some suspicious betting earlier on. That was Michael Johnson and Alexander
Yeah.
Hernandez. That did get cancelled the day of the event. So interesting that Dana White confirmed there's some betting concerns leading into that one. And at the end of all this, we found out that fighter pay, which has obviously been a big discussion, has been increased somewhat because the fight of the night bonuses have gone from 50 to 100K, and that did go to fight of the night with Gaethje and Pimblett. No surprises there. And the performance of the night, Josh Hockett and Ty Miller, back to back on the early prelims, which I did get to watch at my mate's house up in there in Cairns. I did get to catch the card in the Jack. Shout out to the Jack, best UFC venue in the country, if you ask me. They both got their finishes at 4:59 seconds of the first round. So pretty insane
Wow.
that they went back to back to kick off the early prelims. And those are also the first ever fights on Paramount. So I'm sure they were happy with how that card started. There's a couple of KOs in the prelims as well, back to back. So there's 4 straight knockouts to start the entire card. So that was pretty cool to see. And then also now for any finish on a UFC card, you'll receive an additional 25K. It might not be sort of a salary increase or a contract increase, but good to see just a little bit of that billion, multi-billion dollar money head back to the fighters' pockets, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's the incentives there for the fighters to go out there and put on a great performance or look for the finish. Yeah, you'd like them just to get more money in general. They're risking their lives and they've put their whole lives and trained towards this. So, but no, it's good, man. I think more money is always good for the fighters. I felt like the production was really good. Like there was a few subtleties I noticed with the Paramount production. They kind of had their own little spin on a few things. I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite cool. The production, yeah, was awesome. I think a lot of people were complaining about the amount of ads. It was put to Dana White in the post-fight press conference. You know, there was a lot of ads, but he kind of said, "Well, it's $8.95 instead of $80, so they got to earn their money somehow." So you kind of can't complain. That's obviously over in the States, but yeah, it was cool, man. It was a great card, and yeah, stoked the fighters are gonna get a little bit more money if they're getting those finishes and fight of the night bonuses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess that's with anything, right? Streaming, there has to be a downside of only paying that much, and this pay-per-view model being, I guess, abolished for the time being in America and a large chunk of the world now. Not Australia, of course. We're still paying main event for another year or two. But like Netflix or anything, mate, it's all shiny, beautiful, and new. But then you realize there's a drawback, of course, when it comes to a cheap card like that when you're all getting included in your package. And mate, I forgot to ask you at the top of the show. We of course signed off last week with you revealing it was going to be at a christening. How'd you go, mate? Did you get
Yeah.
those fights in the end? How did it all happen?
It was good. It was such a special day. We went up to the church and I was godfather, so it was really special. And then we went back to my mate Mitch's house and we're in the pool, we're having a beer, and then we're about 2 hours in. He goes, "Is the UFC on?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to put it on?" And I just leapt up, put it on the TV, we bought it, and then that was pretty much me for the afternoon. I went missing and everyone else was outside by the pool.
Godfather, Tommy Hayfield, made him an offer he couldn't
That can go
refuse,
in your
mate.
next intro.
He's
That can
ready
go
to
in your next intro,
Godfather.
Dane.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't refuse the Godfather, mate. I've seen him on the
I'm
mats. I've
actually
seen
double godfather.
mate, I'm a one
Yeah,
time, so you outrank me, mate. So,
cool. There
and
you go.
I've
How
seen him hit the
good.
pads. Jesus, you sure the Thai
Yeah.
guys run away when he comes into the gym, mate. You got to watch out for him. Now,
Did you see
Tommy,
that video someone made today? I put it on my Instagram of when you come back from Thailand and it's a guy in the Bang Tao outfit and he's shadow boxing as he comes through the arrivals terminal.
I can't wait. I love that
Oh, it's
video,
so
by the
cool.
way, and I can't wait. We'll have to chuck
Yeah.
it up on social. I can't wait to do that with you one day as well, and I can be that guy, man.
Yes.
Tommy, it's big. I was just watching Countdown. It is the week. We're here in
Mm.
Sydney. I actually was just walking past Crown in Sydney, and I did see some of the fighters, at least their teams, walking around just earlier before in Sydney. We've seen the videos come out now on Tuesday morning. Alexander Volkanovski facing off with Diego Lopes right down there on the harbour. Now, you and I will be involved in a bunch of coverage for various media outlets. I'll be out there tomorrow for the open workouts. I have the press conference during the day, the open workouts at night at the Star Casino. Then they'll have the official press conference on Thursday. And on Friday, of course, we'll have some weigh-ins all getting kicked off here on Sunday. They're doing a few little things around Sydney as well while they're here. Obviously, haven't been here for about a year, last 12 months. After they had those two previous Sydney pay-per-view cards, both headlined by Sean Strickland. So we're out of that now. We've obviously got Alexander the Great back here in Sydney for the first time since 2017. That was the last time he fought on a UFC fight night. So that's how long it was. Of course, he fought in Perth a couple years ago in the Classic against Makhachev. But now he's back to defend the belt as the champion in his hometown, down the road, close enough in Windang. I've just seen about how they've opened the new fight there, Freestyle MMA. They've got the new gym pumped up on the new Countdown. We're pretty pumped because we're going to see plenty of Volk later this week. I didn't get to see him at the face-off, but we are going to be out there for plenty of events later in this week. What have you just made of Volk so far? I know the videos floating around the recent storylines today was him coming out and discussing the retirement rumors like he's done in the past, but sort of doubling down and saying that, obviously it depends on the way he gets it done, but he assumes he will get it done and he still has a few more fights. Now, you made a big call, mate, last preview pod. You were thinking that this might be the last we see of the Great One. Have you changed your tune a tiny bit, Tommy?
Look, I hope I'm wrong. I just feel like when will he ever get this opportunity again to lay down the gloves, win or lose in front of his home crowd in Sydney? I really hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. There's just a part of me that feels this could be the perfect end to an amazing career for such an Aussie legend. And yeah, I don't know, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, Dane. What do you reckon?
Well, I just seen an article drop on Fox Sports. Shout out to Nick Walshaw, does a good job there. And basically, they were discussing a future BMF title fight. I think we touched on it last week, talking about if he's not the champion, where else does he slot in? And we have a potential answer to that now because he opened up on a potential BMF showdown with Max Holloway. Now, of course, that would make a bit of sense. We all know the trilogy and how it's all gone in the past. And he's basically commented that if that was to go down, he'd be happy to scrap and I suppose throw the game plan out the window a little bit. That's of course assuming he gets through Lopes. You've got Movsar Evelev and Lerone Murphy, who I would have to assume would have to show down that number one contender fight to see who does get the winner of this. We obviously hope that it's Volkanovski, obviously trying to defend in his second reign as the UFC featherweight champion. It's going to be very interesting. I've been talking to a few people during the week, and the last time I checked Lopez's betting odds, he was like a low $2 outsider, but it seems the odds are quite close. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of good pundits thinking that this fight is going to be a lot closer. I mean, this fight, watching it last year, it was a gripping fight. This first fight between these two. Now that was back in April at UFC 314 in Miami, but it was a dominant, unanimous decision win by Volk. And like we've touched on previously, and everyone's talked about before this fight, no one thought anyone really deserved this rematch. Now the judges, one judge had it 48-47, the other two had it 49-46, which I'm pretty sure is how we both scored it, or pretty close to it at the time. I know it was a pretty hairy moment in those final rounds. How do you just see this rematch shaping out? Volk's obviously, almost a year older. Lopez is coming off that amazing knockout. But how do you see this fight going down right now? I know we've got our hearts in our sleeves a little bit. What do you think changes from the first fight to think that Lopez will be a lot closer in this one?
Well, that's the thing. It's always tricky when you've won. What does Volk improve? Like, I'm sure there's some things that he took out of that fight that he realizes, oh, I could do this, but I could do that. But Diego has clear things that he needs to improve on because he lost, and there's more things that he can probably work on and improve on. And it was such an entertaining first fight, and I feel like Volk just needs to do more of the same. It was one of those fights where you were scared for Volk because Diego hits so hard and comes forward, and it was like any of those punches could kind of clip Volk and get him. And it was just, I'm not convinced that Volk's just going to go and wipe the floor with him, but let's hope he does. But I think if it's another 5-round war, we're in for a real treat. But what do you reckon, Dane?
Yeah, look, I just see a hungry Volkanovski on home soil, the type of guy who wants to put on a show
Mm,
for the Australian fans. Like, I know a lot of people might think that's not really something that should come into calculation, but I just see him a little bit differently. I just feel like being back in Sydney for the first time in almost 9 years, whatever it is, 8 years, that he does want to come on and put on this one final show. I don't know if we'll get another chance in Australia. I don't think this is going to be the last we're going to see him. I don't agree with the retirement talk, and I think he's spoken pretty strongly on it. Unless there's some sort of mammoth knockout, like I said, like a Makhachev 2 style knockout that really does affect his mindset.
mm,
I still don't think he would announce it on the day. I don't think we're going to see that on Sunday. I could see it down the track if he does get knocked out. But I just feel like he is going to come out hungry to put on a bit of a statement. I could actually, if I'm being completely honest, I could see him trying to go for the finish. Not in a wild, throwing the game plan out the window type of style, but I could just see him wanting to put in a bit of a statement win. I think this retirement talk will have fired him up a little bit. I feel like he's the type of guy who's going to respond. He's going to respond to the retirement talk. He's going to respond to this home New South Wales, Sydney crowd getting behind him with that Aussie flag, and when Down Under pops off, Tommy, and you and I are sitting there, I can just see the fucking place going nuts. And I can see Volt really coming out there and making a statement. That's just how I see this fight goes. I'm putting it out there that I think he'll get a finish. I think he's going to come out there and work on a finish. I know that might be a big call because normally in a Volt fight, you'd be happy with a 5-round decision. But I think he is going to be motivated out there to come down here, get the win, whether he can jump on the back and grab that neck off some big shots or he can actually finish him on the feet. I'm going Volt
mm.
knockout, mate. That's what I'm going. I'm motivating
Fuck,
myself.
you have just pumped me up. That is awesome. Yep, I'll take that.
Mate, that's just I don't know. I can just feel it. I can just feel it. Look, on the flip side, like you said, I think Lopez, he's still young. He's going to be better. We've mentioned already, I've got to speak to him. He's been based in Sydney now for pretty much the last month. He got here in early January. He flew about 10 of his
It's a
team
long
out.
time.
A long time, mate,
Yeah,
and not cheap, not cheap. I
yeah.
hope Uncle Dane is chipping in a little bit of a loan for this one because it's not gonna be cheap to bring 10 people out here for that long. I was asking my MMA guy, at SBG, what would it cost? And, he was like, "It's pretty crazy." Like, you don't hear people doing it for that long, maybe the last week or so, but to come out here for the whole month and try and set yourself up in Sydney, it's pretty crazy. He does say the mullet lets him fit in pretty easily with the Aussies, which is true. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it does play into it. Now he's 31. He's obviously a few, 5, 6 years younger than Volkanovski. Like I said, coming off that spinning back elbow against Silva back in September. But that's his last fight. He's obviously a little bit more tuned up. What have you just made of his preparation? Have you seen anything on socials or anything that makes you think that this is really going to change for Lopes?
Well, the biggest thing is that he's been here for a month already. That's massive. He's acclimatized. He must like it here. I've been watching more of Volk's kind of prep. He did a stint in Thailand. He's got the new gym down near Wollongong, and he's got his team there. He's got Brad Riddell, Frank Hickman. Saw Craig Jones is there now. Like, it's a bit of the dream team. They've been together for a long time. He's training with Rufi. They look awesome. They look like they're putting in some serious work. Volkanovski's YouTube channel is pretty awesome. It gives you a pretty cool insight to watching them train and watching how that team kind of operates. It obviously doesn't give away all their secrets, but they're cool videos, man. You watch all their sessions and they just look like good fellas doing good stuff and an awesome preparation. And he looks in fantastic shape. And yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. You and me sitting there, land down under comes on. I'm going to have 4 cans sitting in front of me. I'm not moving for the whole fight. And we're just going to scream and I can't wait. And then Bam Bam Tuivasa, when he walks out too, Western Sydney, that's going to go ridiculous. I can't wait. Man, Sunday can't come quick enough. I might even put my arm around you and just have full goosebumps and just
All right.
take in the moment.
And I reckon there's a shoey on the horizon too, mate. I'm feeling it. It's all happening, I'm sure.
Yes.
Mate, if Volk gets the knockout, we do a shoey. Hey?
Okay, fair enough.
He's not
Might
sold.
buy
He's
some
not
new
sold.
shoes.
We'll see. We'll see. We got to do something.
Ah,
Heard
good.
it here on Season Ticket Holders. Now, mate, just to wrap up on Lopes, I do want to say that just throughout the lead up, obviously awesome guy. I've loved dealing with him. I've spoken to him on Zoom. I've looked to meet him in person now. He's repeatedly said he's sorry. He wants to say he's sorry to Australia. His plan is to come here and take the belt, like any challenger would say, really. So nothing really surprising there.
Mm.
He's been working a long time. He thinks he's learnt from the first fight. He's seen the deficiencies or faults that he could have made up from that first fight. And he said the knockout is coming. So that's Lopez's call, mate. But bring it on. It's been a long time in the making. It's honestly, for me personally, and for you, I'm sure too, it's a bucket list item to see Volkanovski fight in the flesh. And I just cannot wait till we get to see this all come down on what's predicted to be the highest grossing event ever on Australian, on home soil at Sydney, Kudos Bank Arena, UFC 325 this weekend, mate. Let's just run through the rest of the card. I know we're all excited on Volk, but we got to get through the rest of this card too. The co-main event, Dan Hooker and Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, it's going to be interesting, man. The Hangman hasn't had the greatest recent record. We saw
Gonna
him.
be awesome.
It is going to be a good fight. I am a little bit worried for Hooker, though. Saint-Denis, mate, he's coming off 3 pretty impressive finishes, including that 16-second knockout in November against Benil Dariush. Before that,
Yeah,
he submitted
true.
Rufi and Prepolek. So he went 3-0 for finishes in 2025. The Hangman, mate, we all know that came off very recently with Arman Sarukian, pretty much completely outclassed in that fight, going down to arm triangle in the second round and their fight night headliner back in November. But before that, he actually had strung 3 wins together, even though they were 3 years apart, 2 split decisions against Gamrot and Turner. And the last time he had a really, I suppose, statement performance was back now in November 2022 against Claudio Puelles. You're expecting banger though, mate. What are you hoping from this one? Because I think Hooker's up against it, obviously.
He's definitely up against it. Saint Denis is no joke. He's a tough French ex-SAS soldier. Like he's not mucking around. Amazing, well-rounded skills. But Hooker, you got to go with the Anzac. He's a bit of a favorite of mine. He talks a lot of shit. He's very funny. I don't know. I'm going Dan Hooker just out of loyalty, but I think he might be in a little bit of trouble. But who knows? He said against Arman that last fight that in the face-off when Arman headbutted him, it broke his nose, and he didn't even flinch and like fought And then, yeah, they realized his nose was broken. He said that was from the headbutt from the weigh-in, so from the face-off. So he's a bit of a nutcase. I'd like to see him win or lose this fight versus Paddy Pimblett. I just think the build up to that and the chats would be hilarious. But nah, man, I'm going Dan Hooker just out of Anzac loyalty. He's a bit of a legend. He's been around for a long time, and I find him pretty funny, man. What about you?
You had a run-in with your boy Hooker, didn't you? You had a bit of a meeting with him, your mate?
Yes, that's right. Pac-Man, I forgot. That was at Bang Tao in Thailand. He was sitting in the cafe and I got a photo with him. He was nice. He was a bit staunch, but he was nice. But yeah, it's a good photo. I like that one. Maybe if he wins, I might have to drop that up again. Just fanboy him.
Hayfield v Hooker debut. I can feel it, mate. I can see it coming.
Death. I'd die.
You'd be fine, mate.
Nah, I'm proper, man. What do you reckon? I reckon he can do it. I reckon he can pull it off in front of the Sydney crowd. Everyone rooting for him.
Dude, he's an awesome guy. Whenever you see Dan Hooker's name on a fight card, whether you think he's going to win or lose, I think you know you're in for something. You know, whether it's him getting knocked out, you know you're normally in for a war. He's not going to quit. That Gaethje style, like we've just sort of spoken about. Not he's not sort of up to that next challenge of title contention type fighter, but you know he's going to get in there and bang and scrap, and a bit of a gatekeeper in the division and in the UFC, a name they know they can count on when you chuck him in there. So I think it's a pretty good addition to the card. Not the strongest main event, but I mean, it's an exciting one. And I think, like you said, that Anzac loyalty that we all have as Aussies, we love to see a Kiwi just as much as we love to see an Aussie. So I don't think we're losing anything, but I think Saint-Denis has got his number here. I wouldn't be surprised if he does secure the finish, and he could do it either way. He can do it by knocking you out like we saw in 16 seconds, or he can get on you and he
Yeah.
can submit you, mate. So I think he will get the finish in this one. But I do hope Hooker puts up a good fight. Mate, the next one on the main card,
Mhm.
Rafael Fiziev. This is the only one that doesn't feature an Anzac on the main card against Mauricio Rufy. Now, you mentioned that he has been training with Volk, which has been pretty cool to see from Rufy. Now, he's coming off the loss to Saint Denis back in September. He got face cranked in the second round. But before that, he'd put together quite a record, mate. He was 12-1. That was his first loss in the UFC. He'd strung together 3 wins before that, including pretty impressive spinning wheel kick knockout against King Green. That was back in March of last year. Fiziev coming off a decision win back in June against Ignacio Bahamondes. Probably butchered that. Before that, he had 3 losses in a row, including 2 to Justin Gaethje. So interesting matchup, mate. I'm going to go with Rufy being in Volk's camp, getting the job done, getting back on that wagon, obviously running into the beast that is Benoit. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I'm hoping Roofy as well. I think training with Volk, you got to go for the team, the same team. I think it'll be a good fight, man. I'm excited for that one. Fizie's always been in good fights. He's a well-rounded fighter. It's going to be another really entertaining fight on that card. I can't wait.
Bring it on. This is the one where Tommy will be doing a shoey because next up is Tai Tuivasa against Taliesin Teixeira. Mate, well, I think we all know this one is not going 3 rounds. No surprise there. Few people surprised to see Bam Bam back. I mean, I was one of them. He'd actually lost 5 in a row before this. He hasn't got a win against that elbow against Derek Lewis, which I think he was losing that fight back in February 2022. He hasn't fought since August 2024. That was back on that Perth card against Rosenstrike, lost a split decision. Before that, he'd been finished. He'd lost 2 submissions, and then he was knocked out back-to-back fights against Sergey Pavlovich and Cyril Gahn. So he's making his comeback on the Sydney card. We all talk about Volk's swan song. Tuivasa's only 32, but I don't think he can really go with another loss on his record, especially a knockout one. Teixeira's coming off that TKO loss to Derek Lewis. That was his first loss. He was 8-0 before that, including that pretty impressive knockout in 35 seconds against Justin Tafa back in February on the last Sydney card, which we were actually at. Mate, how do you make of this one? I know we all want to see Bam Bam win, but I think it's going to be very tough, and I think he could be near the end if he doesn't get it done.
Yeah, man, I agree. I love Bam Bam. I've been a big, long time fan of his. He's so entertaining. He's a funny dude. He represents Western Sydney. He's fun on the mic. He's given us lots of good times. But I think he's got his work cut out for him. This could be a bit of a tricky fight. I feel like this could be a potential last fight for Bam Bam. He may lay down the gloves in front of his hometown in Western Sydney, and he's got lots of other business ventures on the boil. And yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully, he keeps going, but yeah, I could see him this being his last fight. What do you reckon, Dane?
Yeah, mate, I agree. I think he's gonna get finished, and, I think there's a very good chance he could lay it down or maybe switch to some sort of exhibition boxing. I'm sure the boys at No Limit would be very happy to have him, on one of their cards. He's got a bit of a football connection, as do a lot of the
Mm.
guys in that promotion, so I would not be surprised if he went into maybe a bit of a boxing or hell, man, maybe he just sticks with beer promotions and that type of thing 'cause, he's got a bit of a following on social media. Love to watch him, but I think he might be getting finished in this one against a bit of a beast in the heavyweight division. And mate, just rounding out the final card, it was supposed to be Jimmy Crute, but he did his ACL a few weeks ago, so he got scratched from this card. Quillan Sawkilled was a guy I was lucky enough to interview a few weeks ago, and Jamie Malarkey in an all Aussie showdown to open the main card, which is pretty cool. You don't normally see it. Malarkey, he's had his moments in the UFC, but yeah, he's a bit of a sort of a gatekeeper type of guy. He's lost 3 of his last 5. He is coming off a win back in September. They put him on the Perth card, but he's never really been able to string too much together. He got knocked out by Rufy and Hasparat before that, 2 first-round KOs. But Soulkill, one to watch, mate. UFC Rookie of the Year in 2025. I think a lot of people remember him for that stunning head kick first-round knockout against Hasparast. That was back in October last year. That was after a decision win against Yanal Ashmuz. And before that, he had that first round right cross. Some say an early stoppage back in February. A first round finish, they called it at 19 seconds. But 3 wins to make his UFC debut, 2 first-round finishes. He's one to watch, mate. If he can come out here and make a statement against Malarkey, which I think he will do, I could see him getting another early finish against Malarkey. I know he gets to train with Volk and that type of thing, but he has a face that looks primed for getting knocked out, mate. I do like him. He's an Aussie battler, but I think he is very much up against it against Sawkilled, who seems to have all the skills. What do you reckon of this one, mate? All Aussie showdowns, we don't normally see it. The UFC obviously tries to normally match you up with someone from a different country on your home card, but he wasn't lined up against a Chinese fighter. He pulled out. I don't know what reason they gave. He pulled out, so now they have lined up this Aussie battle. But I don't mind it. Started off the main card with 2 Aussies, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, what a year Salkild had last year. Rookie of the year, 3 amazing performances. I really rate him, man. I think he's another Perth product. He could be one of our best fighters coming through. I'd put your car on it that he's going to win that fight. So there you go. What do you drive again, Dane? A Getz?
I do not want to put this on the podcast, mate. It's a Honda Civic, yeah, and we're not even going to mention what year, but let's just say, it could be my younger brother. It's pretty close in age to me,
Yes.
mate. It used
All
to be
right, we're
black.
putting the Getz on that fight.
Yeah, you're not getting much in return, but thanks for that one, Tommy. But no, yeah, I'll put the house on it too, mate. And if I have to uh, make way with the old Honda Civic, so be it, mate. That is the main card. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. I didn't check before I came on the pod, but if you wanted a seat, I think you had to pay a couple $1,000s. Obviously, we all spoke before about maybe a little bit of price gouging on this card. $650 is the cheapest seat. But at the end of the day, can you really put a price on seeing Alexander Volkanovski in Australia, in Sydney, in front of his home crowd? It's going to be pretty amazing. Mate, just the prelims, Junior Tafa, he's going to be in there. We've got Cody Brundage, Jacob Malkoon. They've littered it with some, up and coming Aussies coming in there. Brundage is up against Cam Roston, who is an Aussie. Jacob Malkoon is the Aussie against Torres Finney, an American. They've got another Aussie, Jonathan McAuliffe, against a Welsh guy. Early prelims. Yeah, so they've got a few good ones. There's another 3 Aussies on the early prelims, mate. So it's always good to see those guys get a go. But it is going to be all happening on Sunday. You and I will be out there doing some crosses before the event for Fox Sports News, getting out there. I'm sure it's going to be pretty pumped up. UFC crowd's always quite interesting. We've been out there before to cover it. We all did it last year, so that's going to be pretty exciting. And then, of course, to see our boy Alexander Volkanovski in the flesh, mate, to watch you fight, I absolutely cannot wait. How pumped are you, mate?
I can't wait. Sunday is like Christmas Day. Let's go. Yeah, we'll be out there working, Dane, and then we'll put our feet up and enjoy the fights. And I can't wait, man. Thank you again for getting us on, and it's going to be the best day and a big week ahead. And what a week for Aussie UFC fight fans. You know, the pod is meant for moments like this. Let's get a Volk win and let's do a sick recap next week and recap what an epic day.
Let's go, baby. And still the UFC featherweight champion, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Bring it on, Tommy. We're going to be there on Sunday. Kudos Bank Arena, UFC 325. Let's go make some history. Let's not get in too much trouble, though. Tommy, thank you very much for joining us on Season Ticket Holders, mate. And I will see you on Sunday.
Perfect, bro. Thanks for having us.
Let's go. Thank you guys for all your support. Tune in. Can't wait. Massive day for the UFC and massive day for MMA in Australia. Give us a like, give us a follow on social media, and we'll catch you all next week. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.